Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of the health journey series that I'm doing on my channel, and I'm a little bit nervous to film this because I've already tried to film it and continued to cry during it, so hopefully this time around I can get through without crying. This is about my spinal fusion surgery. In my last video I talked about my scoliosis and my journey with the scoliosis up until this point. So today I'm gonna carry on from what I was talking about in my last video, and if you do want to watch that, it'll be linked down below. So if you're not aware of what spinal fusion is, it is where when your curvatures in scoliosis gets to a certain point, I think it's about 50 degrees, they have to fuse metal onto the curves to straighten out the spine. Otherwise you're going to continue to get worse, or you're in too much pain and have to have that done. So it's, I guess, worst case scenario for people with scoliosis. I had my surgery on the 29th of June 2015, and I found out only 4 weeks before I had to have it done that I was going to have it done, which was crazy. I found out because we'd gone to see a specialist and he was like, you have progressive scoliosis, as I said in my last video. And he said it's going to continue getting worse unless you get this operation. I was in a lot of shock for quite a few of these weeks, and during that time I was doing my mid-year exams for year 11 as well, so it was a very intense time. It was so intense that I did move out of home during that time because I just got way too overwhelmed and I couldn't cope, and all Mum and Dad seemed to be talking about was the operation, how it was going to work, logistics like leaving the kids at home because we would have to go to Melbourne and I live in Tasmania. I wanted to get away from it and not have to think about it, and I knew I had to focus on school and getting through these mid-year exams to do that I had to move out and just block everything that was going on out of my mind. We flew to Melbourne the day before and were admitted that day as well, so the 28th of June. The room was really nice actually, I was quite surprised. There was like a couch slash bed type thing on the window which my mum slept in every night. My dad stayed in a hotel down the road. It was a single room, so I didn't have anybody sharing with me, and big TV, and it was very nice. It was in Epworth Hospital in Melbourne. So the night before I had to make sure I had all my jewellery off and be washed in antiseptic solution. So in the shower my mum washed all the antiseptic solution over my back, and also in the next morning I had to do the same thing so that it was completely clean for the surgery. I remember crying myself to sleep the night before because I was so nervous, and my mum came and hopped in bed with me and cuddled me to sleep. I had like a peace about it because I knew it was the right thing to do, but I was also very, very nervous. So the next day, very early in the morning, the nurses came and wheeled me into a room where you have to wait for your surgery. So I was wheeled into this little curtained off section and given some drugs, and also I had a big blanket put over me that blew up with hot air to warm up all my veins so that it would be easier for the needle to go in for the anaesthetic. One thing that I still am annoyed about today is that the person who did the anaesthetic, she didn't let me count down from 10. She stopped me in the middle of a sentence. She was asking me about my life and I was talking to her as I was laying there like shaking in fear. In the middle of a sentence I fell asleep. So I still am annoyed about that because I wish I'd been able to prepare myself and count down and yeah, get ready for what was about to happen, but I was sort of just put under quite quickly. Woke up in the recovery room with very low blood pressure. I remember waking in and out of consciousness in the most incredible and intense pain I could ever imagine, and I can't explain that pain. I don't want to go too much into detail about what it was like in the recovery room because it was the worst part of the entire thing and the most painful and the most scary because I didn't have Mum and Dad, and because of my low blood pressure they had to keep me in there for quite a while and try and get everything stabilised. don't actually remember much of the next 3 days because I was drifting in and out of consciousness. I do remember that my Auntie Mel and Uncle Tony and the kids came to visit me, and my Uncle Grant came to visit me, and they lightened my world. I also remember that the day after, or the second day after surgery, I asked to stand up because I wanted to know that I wasn't paralysed. I felt like I could not move any of my limbs, and I actually couldn't move, and I wanted to know that I could. So I asked the nurses to help me stand up, and I did, and I felt like there was a board against my back. Like, it felt so straight and so strange, and I'll always remember that. And they got me to move my legs up and down, and then I was exhausted and slept for like a day because it took so much out of me. I also remember that I had a lot of cords and bits and bobs coming out of my arm. So like, I had a morphine pump which I pressed as much as I needed, and then I had where my fluids were going in because I couldn't eat. I think antibiotics, different things. There was all of these different cords in me, and then up on like a little stand thingy, I don't know what it's called, but yeah, there was a lot of different things in me helping me stay alive. I also remember that I couldn't breathe properly. They actually broke 3 of my ribs, an inch off 3 of my ribs, so it hurt to breathe. And I think they used it for the surgery. I'm not really too sure what for, but if I remember I'll put it down below. And so I would lose a lot of air and have to have an oxygen mask over my nose and mouth to be able to breathe. Otherwise, a tube, like in The Fault in Our Stars, I'd have a little tube around my nose. And yeah, it was very weird having that assistance with oxygen, but I had to have it because I couldn't breathe. During the 2-week hospital stay, I had to go through rehabilitation, so a physio or different physios would come in and work with me and teach me how to walk, how to stand, obviously stand before walking, but teach me the basics, how to get in and out of a car, different things like that. I felt like a baby, and I was relearning how to do everything again, and I would go like to the door and back one day, and then up the corridor and back. Eventually I got round and round the hospital ward, but it took a lot to work up to that. I also was fitted with a big hard brace, and I had to wear that 3 months after my surgery. Also during those 2 weeks I wasn't able to go to the toilet by myself, especially when I couldn't walk and hadn't learnt yet. So yeah, the nurses took me to the toilet every time I needed to go once the catheter was out, and they also had to shower me. I felt very exposed, and there was no privacy at all. After the 2 weeks, I was flown home first class in a plane. That was one of the hardest parts of the entire experience as well, because another part of rehabilitation is learning to sit, and I had only been able to sit for maybe 20 minutes, and that was painful enough, and I had to sit on this plane for an hour and 20 minutes. It was intense pain that I have tried to block out of my mind because it was awful. My dad and I would just repeat a verse over and over from Isaiah, which is, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." I would repeat that over and over, and it would give me such comfort that this would soon be over and I would be home in bed. When I got home, my granddad drove us home. Thank you to the Clears, who live quite near the airport and let me lay in the bed in between legs of the journey. Thank you. I was very high of drugs there as well, so I don't even remember what we talked about. When I got home, my nan was there, and my siblings, they were so happy to see us, and they had decorated the house with "Welcome Home Hannah," which is beautiful. And we all just sat in my room and enjoyed each other's company, and I just cried tears of joy that I'd gotten through that entire thing and gotten home. Took 3 months of recovery and rehabilitation at home, so physio, I had to see physios and specialists and things down here, and then I could go back to school after those 3 months. And then it takes about a year since the surgery until you're classified as fully recovered, but it took me probably about 2 years to be properly better, that I felt myself again. Spinal fusion surgery sucked. It was so painful, and that doesn't give it justice. I can't explain to you guys how painful that experience was and how much mental strength I had to get through that. I wouldn't have been able to get through it without my mum and dad staying with me the entire time, and without the support of family and friends. So to everybody that helped me during that time, I thank you. The same pain that I had during the time before spinal fusion is completely different, and I now have a beautiful, straight, healthy back, and that is amazing. I never thought that I would have that. I do have a massive scar down my back, which I've learnt to love. I'm very proud of it now because it shows that I'm a trooper and that I've gotten through a crazy experience. If you're about to go through it, you can do it, honestly. It is so painful and so awful, but it's doable. It's not impossible. Things that I would recommend if you are about to go through something like that, big surgery or spinal fusion, is to work on building a lot of muscle before you go in, because once you go in and go through the surgery and are in recovery, your body uses all the fat and muscle that it can as sources of, I guess, energy. So the more that you build, the more there is to lose, I guess. Also, keep motivated. Keep thinking in your head, I can do this. There is an end to this. There is a point to this. I can do this. And once you are thinking like that, it'll be easier to push yourself through such an experience. I hope I've given this experience a little bit of justice. I don't really feel like you can fully understand what it's like unless you go through it. But I'm really proud of myself, as I said in the last video, for getting through something like that. And it's definitely shaped me into the woman that I am today. So I am thankful for that. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, give this video a thumbs up down below and don't forget to subscribe. My part 3 of my health journey, which is the last segment, will be happening in the next week or so, I'm hoping. So look out for that one and make sure that you're subscribed so you do get the notification that I've uploaded. Love you guys so much, and thanks so much for watching.